From the band, really. I think every band that, you know, every group of guys that gets a band together, you've got to be ambitious and you want to have success. So, I mean, if you go in there lacking in confidence, then you're not going to get anywhere.
Yes, but it's not only a question of confidence, it's also
you got to have a degree of ability as well, which we had.
the reality of it all. When did it really came through?
When, to cut a long story short, was a hit, I suppose.
We've been very fortunate because our first single went to #5 in Britain and it picked up most of Europe. So we've never sort of had an enormous lull in our success.
In the start of your career, you all had some gigs in some very, very peculiar places, not normal places, on a boat, etc., etc. Do you do that still, or is that all
big enough
behind you?
No, of course not. I mean, you've got to play to the people, and if we went and played unusual venues, we'd be playing every day.
It's fun playing, yeah.
Of course, it's fun at the time, but you have to move on.
Indulgent, though, you see.
Move on. I mean, can't be a sort of minority band for too long. Yeah. Every band, if they want to be successful, wants to play the biggest venues.
I mean, the only reason we've done those shows in the first place is because we couldn't play.
So we're probably hitting Holland sometime around January or February.
Martin over here has his birthday today, and we've got a present for you.
Happy birthday to
you. Thank you very much. So I get to blow the candles out.
Birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Martin. Happy birthday to you.
Martin, do you know why this is a question mark?
Because you don't know how old I am.
Right, tell us.
25.
25.
Totally completed, you know, it was 100% arrangements rehearsed. The band was so tight as if we were going to go out and play live. There was only really a question of putting it down onto tape. And it's just much more dynamic, I think, than any previous album we've yet made. Just putting our little bits of ideas in. When we were in Munich, I suppose, and maybe in France, we worked with someone called Patrick Woodruff, who came up with an idea for the stage set and the lights. We're using about 400 more lights than we were last time, so that's all got to be coordinated. And it just builds from there, and then you work out different colours and what sort of vari lights and computers you're going to use. Yeah. We're using, I think we're taking, actually with us, 54 people involved. There's 54 people, including the band. They're actually touring around. Excuse me, I'm spitting. But that's besides all the humpers that are in, they call them humpers, that's not my phrase. They're
technical roadies.
Exactly, who are in each town just humping. So there's quite a few people, it's nearly 900 that make the tour.
Yeah, you have to combine the kind of the artistry along with the sort of technical problems that you're going to encounter as well, because there's all the equipment on stage, and you want to try and cover that as much as possible and put it underneath risers. So you have to go through all that as well. But it's good fun. But we saw the scale model in the south of France, didn't we? Patrick came up with little models of us with guitars and stuff like that. And then last week we actually saw it. We were in Elstree doing the stage rehearsals, and we actually saw it in the flesh, and it's like, it's great, it's really good.
We did a tour of Ireland. We did a couple of shows in Southern Ireland and a couple in Belfast, and it, you know, just being that first-hand experience tended to affect us all, and a song came out of Gary because of it, and really came from there through the barricades, I suppose, is like breaking down those sort of religious borders, and we wanted that song to get across to both of them, because we did a show and there was Protestants and Catholics all getting into it, all mixed, which is something you rarely get. So that in itself was a good inspiration for the song.
I mean, I think the song is probably applicable to situations around the world, not just the kind of Northern Ireland thing. You know, there's music at the end of the day kind of brings an awful lot of people together of varying sort of, you know, ideologies or whatever. And I mean, Live Aid was, you know, immediate proof of that. I mean, whether you're in Moscow or London or down in Brazil somewhere, everyone was watching, everyone was into the bands, you know. No matter what your, you know, your political views or your racial views or whatever, people were into the music. It's just a shame that doesn't happen in sort of more ordinary walks of life as well. But there you are.
History behind us, a lot of nostalgia and a lot of anecdotes that keep coming up every couple of weeks. And we go back a long way. We've been mates at school. Any arguments that occur in the band are just forgotten about straight away, and they're generally very constructive, except for that one the other night. Which but, and also, I think people generally do solo projects when they're bored or they're not able to express themselves. We're not bored in the band, we're having a great time. It's like a holiday for us all the time, you know, on tour. We're going away to Benidorm or something like that.
Last couple of days have been a bit hectic though.
Yeah, and we're definitely not bored. I think we're able to express ourselves all right in the band, so there's no problems there. I can't really imagine going on tour on my own, doing something, a solo project, because the fun of going on tour and doing what we do is because there's more than one of you doing it. You've got friends around you.
When you've been on tour for like, I don't know, 8 months, and you've played the songs God knows how many times, you get to the point where it's, you know, new songs start to arise and, you know, you start working them out in the sound check and things like that. Then you think, oh God, I can't wait to go and record a new album. Because by that time, you've realised the mistakes that you made on the previous one. So once you rehearse, arrange all the tracks, go in the studio, make the album, then you can't wait to get out on tour again. It's like that, it just keeps on going around. It's like a merry-go-round, it just doesn't stop. But I think live works.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of buzz you
best.
get, you know, when you're on stage. And like, you've got all these people sort of getting into the music with you. That's a buzz that you can't get from anything else.
I mean, like, because your album, when you release an album or a single, it's basically, you know, the people who buy that are a statistic on a computer readout. Do you know what I mean? You know, this album sold X amount of copies. When you go and play live, then you're actually meeting the people that have bought the album and like what you do, like your music, like what you say or whatever. And so it's much more of a closeness there. I prefer it anyway.
Thanks very much to Steve and Tony. Good luck on that World